Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into my latest video. Today I am going to be speaking about wide receivers that are on my radar when I get into the later rounds of my fantasy football drafts. And just like I spoke about on that running back video, which if you have not watched, please go back and check it out. The wide receivers on this list, they're going to be outside the top 36 ADP according to Fantasy Pros. Their half point PPR ADP, and this is as of last night. And this is according to 12 team leagues. So these wide receivers are getting drafted as wide receiver 4s and 5s. And I also have excluded talking about any year 3 wide receivers since I already expressed my feelings heading into the preseason on those guys, and that came out a couple weeks ago. So if you guys haven't checked out that video, please go check that out as well. So yeah, and then just go ahead and kind of give you guys a teaser, a spoiler. These wide receivers are going to be basically all rookies, and there's one second-year wide receiver, because my personal strategy when I start to get to my bench wide receivers, I'm going for strictly upside. So I typically am drafting either my year 3 wide receivers or guys I think that have an opportunity to take that leap in year 2, or rookies that I can see hitting the ground running in their year 1. So yeah, with that all being said, why don't I just go ahead and dive into this first name I'm going to speak about today, which is going to be JAXON SMITH-NJIGBA, the Seahawks rookie wide receiver. Just a couple years ago at Ohio State, he set 2 single season records with 95 receptions and 1,606 yards. And what's impressive is he did that with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave on the same team. And he also did have 9 touchdowns on top of the 2 records that he set in that season. Now, last year he had to shut it down because of an injury, and if my memory is serving me right, he could have came back, but he didn't want to damage his draft status, and which I completely agree. It's a business decision, so I'm not holding that against him. And honestly, after Jamar Chase took a whole year off from football and he came into the NFL and hit the ground running, that's kind of not having me scared about these rookies that do take time away just to make sure they are going to get selected where they want to. Now, obviously, Jamar Chase is a totally different, it's comparing kind of comparing apples to oranges, because he already established that rapport with Joe Burrow back in their days at LSU. Now, I can see JAXON SMITH-NJIGBA repeating the success as a rookie because, like I mentioned, he played with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and put up numbers. In Seattle, he's going to be playing in the slot with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett on the outside. So he's going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities, which he's proven that he can win those type of opportunities in the past. And I can see him being that PPR machine. And he should easily be 3rd in targets in the Seattle Seahawks passing attack. And then, if there's an injury that would happen to either Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf, his value is going to significantly rise. I can kind of see him, maybe not necessarily to his fault, like not playing wise. I could see him maybe as far as fantasy wise, maybe not giving you a lot of value in the first 3 to 4 weeks. But as they open up the Seahawks passing attack with more 3 wide receiver sets, I could see him having value where even with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett on the field, where he's going to be a flex play to possibly like a wide receiver 3 flex play towards the middle of the year. And then, like I said, if anything happens to Lockett or Metcalf, all of a sudden he's a wide receiver 2 that can just be peppered in targets and in those receptions for you. Moving into the next name on my list, a guy I'm really high on entering this season is going to be Zay Flowers, the rookie wide receiver for the Ravens. Now, in his final season in college, he had 78 receptions for 1,077 yards and 12 touchdowns. Now, the Baltimore Ravens, for those that are unaware, they did them and their old offensive coordinator Greg Olson, I believe if I remember right, they mutually splitted ways, but it was basically they were going to let him go, from my understanding. And but with that being said, they hired Todd Monken to be their offensive coordinator. He was the University of Georgia's offensive coordinator over the past few years, and then maybe it is his most memorable time in the NFL as a coordinator came back in the Buccaneers days with Jameis Winston and Ryan Fitzpatrick. If you guys remember when Ryan Fitzpatrick had that electric run here in Tampa Bay, that was with Todd Monken as their OC. So he likes to spread out the ball and he likes to push the ball down the field. So I see a lot more passing yards coming to that Ravens offense this season. And then when you look at the depth chart and the wide receivers they're working with, he could easily lead all the wide receivers in targets as a rookie. Now, obviously, OBJ's there, but we have to see OBJ put together a full healthy season. And then Rashad Bateman also has to prove that he has to stay healthy, and he's beginning training camp on the PUP list. So that's not we'll have to see, but it's not necessarily a promising sign that he's going to have to more than likely miss the beginning of training camp. But remember, this is for Rashad Bateman, and a lot of players you're going to see be putting on the PUP list over this next week. They could quickly come off. I mean, Chase Claypool was on it for maybe 24 hours. But with that being said, though, going back to what I was saying, I could see Zay Flowers leading this team in targets. He's going to be a great downfield option for Lamar Jackson in the Todd Monken offense. And if you remember kind of those explosive plays that DeSean Jackson was doing with Ryan Fitzpatrick underneath Monken, I see him kind of filling that role. They're going to use him in he's going to be a versatile wide receiver where they're going to line him up kind of all over the offense. And I think he's going to have a lot of huge games for people this year. My next wide receiver I'm going to be speaking about is going to be another rookie wide receiver. As you guys, like I already told you guys, I'm a big fan of getting rookie wide receivers with upside in the back end of my fantasy football drafts. It's going to be Jordan Addison. In 2021, he was the Fred Biletnikoff Award winner. That's the award for the best wide receiver in college football. Now, he won that at Pittsburgh before he transferred to USC. His production was down last year, but you can look at the quarterback play and the offense that they were running there. Even though they did have the Riley, the former Oklahoma coach there. But with that being said, he just didn't put up that production that you would expected. But when you look at what he did in 3 college seasons, that's a lot of production. He had 219 receptions for 3,134 yards and 29 touchdowns. And then when you look at the offense that he's going to be in that Kevin O'Connell offense that did put up yards with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne and TJ Hawkinson last year. But Adam Thielen went to the Panthers, and then Adam Thielen is vacating 107 targets. So I'm expecting that Addison is going to step in and be a opening day starter. He's going to probably take over majority of those targets that Adam Thielen is leaving on the board, and then with Justin Jefferson being on the team, he's going to see a lot of one-on-one opportunities. And if he can pick up this scheme, and maybe it's like Justin Jefferson's rookie year. Remember, Jefferson took 2 to 3 weeks before he really started picking up speed and really being a quality a week in and week out fantasy football wide receiver and becoming the great wide receiver that he is today. So I think Addison is by the 6-week mark. I think he's going to be in that wide receiver 2 range for people's fantasy lineups. So if he's on your board later in the drafts, he's another rookie wide receiver you should be leaving with. Now, getting off the rookie wide receiver train I've been speaking about, I'm gonna go with a guy entering his second year, the Commanders wide receiver Jahan Dotson. In his rookie season, he only played 12 games, but in those 12 games, he had 35 receptions for 523 yards and 7 touchdowns. You want to think if he would have played the extra 5 games, he would have likely got to the double-digit touchdowns in his rookie season and possibly getting close to that 1,000-yard mark. And then what I do like is he did finish the season on a strong note. He had 70-plus receiving yards in 3 of the final 4 games of the season. And then another positive that's going for Jahan Dotson is Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, has came over and he's going to be running the Commanders offense. So you're going to see elements of that passing attack from the Chiefs transfer over to the Commanders. Now, obviously, it's not going to be as effective as KC's offense when it's Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Obviously Patrick Mahomes is a significantly better quarterback than the options on the Commanders right now. Which I want to go ahead and say this too. My biggest concern with Jahan Dotson is I do wonder, and not necessarily him as a wide receiver, I do wonder if his fantasy output is going to be consistent due to the quarterback play. They are betting on Sam Howell to be their starting quarterback and showing that he has something entering his second season in the league. He only started in that last game of the year in 2022. And then if there's any failure with Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett is the backup. Now, Jacoby is he's a good to great backup to have in this league, but he's just now, when he got that full season start with the Colts, it was hard for him to, trust him that he can give you a fantasy wide receiver that you can depend on in week in and week out. So, with Jahan Dotson, for that to happen, you're going to want to bet on Sam Howell is going to hit this year for Washington. Now, regardless of whoever the quarterback is, I think with the addition of Eric Bieniemy, I still seeing Dotson getting closer to the 100 target mark, and I definitely see him crossing 1,000 yards this year. And I think he's an upside guy to have on your bench. More than likely, he'll be like a spot starter when his matchup is great, when he's facing those weaker secondaries. But like I mentioned, the ceiling is very high if Howell can become the quarterback that team is betting on him to beat. Rounding out these wide receivers today, going with a rookie wide receiver, Quentin Johnston for the Los Angeles Chargers. In his final year at TCU, he had the 60 receptions for 1,069 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, he's going to be competing with Josh Palmer to be third on targets with the team, but his offensive coordinator, his wide receiver coach, already has been giving him glowing reviews. It sounds like he's going to be pushing for legit playing time on the field. Now, why I'm willing to be patient with Johnston, because I forgot to mention, you're probably gonna have to be patient with him in like the first month, but I could see him emerging because we've seen Keenan Allen and Mike Williams deal with injuries in their past. I mean, last year there's at times where both of them were out of the lineup. So if anything were to happen to one of those wide receivers, he's a boundary wide receiver, so he's going to step in for that role. And that would just significantly increase his value, going from like a stash bench play to also a wide receiver too that can give you some good weeks, because I think this Chargers offense is going to be enhanced underneath Justin Herbert and their new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore came over from the Cowboys. They are expected to open up the passing attack and push the ball down the field more. And obviously with Justin Herbert being the talented quarterback that he is, I'm willing to take a chance on a rookie wide receiver tied to that arm. And like I mentioned, Johnston can be a downfield threat in this offense for Justin Herbert and that strong arm of his. So this guy's more of a stash play, and you're going to kind of see how this offense does end up looking underneath Kellen Moore. And then, like I mentioned too, if anything happens to Allen or Williams, all of a sudden you get a very good quality play that should be in a high-powered offense this season. So yeah, those are 5 wide receivers that I got my eyes on as I get to the back end of the drafts. If you guys enjoyed this video, as always, hit the like button, share the video. Make sure you have subscribed or followed the channel, just depending on where you are watching this, because I do post this on multiple of my social media platforms. Speaking of that, if you want to follow me on any other platforms, you can always look up at Cody Talks NFL. You can search my name, Cody Manning, if you're trying to find my content. But yeah, that's today's video. My next one, I will be doing the same thing for the tight end position, and then we'll see where I go after that. I got some ideas brewing inside my head as training camps and the preseason games kick off. I want to get you guys all this fantasy related content, and then I'll be doing some season previews too as the season draws near. Other than that, I'm gonna head off of here. You guys will see me at some point this week with that tight end video. Peace out. Enjoy your week.